Hi, I'm Carol Wilson, Editor-at-Large for Light Reading. I'm here with Kevin Vachon, the Chief Operating Officer for MEF. Welcome, Kevin.
Good to be here, Carol.
So you have been involved in a number of these events, dating back to the first one 5 years ago. How have you seen this event change?
Well, it's really been a reflection, I guess, the progress that we've seen in the industry with respect to the work that we're doing.
Okay.
5 years ago, it was still, I guess, an Ethernet-centric event,
okay,
which is why we called it Gen 14 at the time. And of course, with MEF's, the development of the vision, the strategy we put together a number of years ago, all of that has come to fruition now. So there's much more emphasis on the evolution of the services market, the shift from static to dynamic services, the orchestration of those services, and most importantly, well beyond carrier Ethernet. But I think, beyond that, it's really 4 or 5 years ago, it was more on the concept stage. Now we're getting much closer to adoption. We're seeing early adoption of these new areas of work.
Okay, one difference I've noticed is the much greater emphasis, it seems to me, on the proofs of concept. And you've got many more multi-carrier driven proofs of concept here. Is that an accurate thing to say?
No, absolutely, and it's partly because the availability of early stage APIs, for example, that makes the POCs much more feasible.
Right.
And many of these carriers are getting closer to getting into either a pre-production or a production environment.
Okay.
So the POCs are well timed at this stage.
Okay. In terms of MEF 18, anything special about this event that I know you made some significant announcements, we've talked about those, but anything else special about this particular event?
Well, I think certainly you're seeing if you look at the topics, obviously there's a big emphasis on continued emphasis on LSO and the LSO Sonata APIs. The inter-carrier topic is just extremely hot.
Yep. And
how that topic, of course, is extended into the role it will play in the SD-WAN space. So I think those are really two themes we're seeing here over and over.
And of course, because we're a telecom conference in 2018, we have to talk about 5G, right? And I think that's just required. So what have you seen the impact of 5G on some of the work that MEF is doing?
Our role at 5G is really about the ability to orchestrate 5G services within the LSO framework.
Okay.
Right, and that's the angle we're taking at it at this point in time. So yeah, there's more and more interest. We're being asked about that, over and over now. Okay.
All right. So let's look a little bit into the future. MEF 19, and actually just 2019 for MEF as an organization. What are you thinking? What are you expecting to see?
Well. We are seeing just so much interest in the inter-carrier automation area, and there's just every week we have new providers, major operators, coming, getting closer to the Sonata API work that we're doing, starting to plan to implement that work in one shape or form, whether it's in a lab, starting to plan for adoption. So I think it's going to be an accelerated year for adoption of those APIs. There's still a long, look, this is going to take a long time for that whole kind of community to automate, but we seem to be at an inflection point right now. Okay.
I thought it was interesting to see a couple of the POCs also address blockchain for commercial settlements. That's an interesting development.
Yeah, and that's quite new. I ended up chairing a blockchain panel last week at Capacity Europe. I didn't think I'd be doing that, but from our perspective, it's complementary. It's just another enabler of inter-carrier transactions that leverage the MEF APIs. It's somewhat analogous to the services approach we took in the early years, where we were transport agnostic with respect to the service specifications that we built. So this is, we're agnostic to the underlying way in which the commercial transactions might happen. We're focused on the APIs for those transactions.
Okay, last question. Can you explain blockchain?
No, I can't explain blockchain, and I don't want to. There are people at it that are much better than I am, and there's some really good videos out there, by the way, so I wanted to try.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks for being here, Kevin.
Great to have light reading at the show.